Hello everybody and welcome. This video is a bit of a warning that the Lord gave me about this season, and he's been talking to me about the authority that the bride has when she is alone with Jesus in the secret place, and all of the traps that the enemy is trying to throw in front of her to get her out of that secret place. And I was looking in the first epistle of Peter, and he starts by encouraging the saints. It's a general letter to all of the churches. And he's talking about the inheritance that we've all got and the rejoicing that we should have, even though we might be going through what he calls fiery trials. And he says, rejoice, though for a little while you've been grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being of much more precious value than gold that perishes, though it's tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ, which I think you can look it up in your own Bible. But what the Lord was emphasizing to me, he said, that fiery trials and tests come in many shapes and sizes. And it's like I could see the enemy working his way around to see how he could just coax the bride to come out of that place of preparation, and so that she would compromise herself, if you like. And I heard the Lord say, tell my bride she's mine and mine alone in this season. We're supposed to be in that season of being rearmed, if you like, by the Lord in that secret place. And the Lord said to me, she has to clear the clutter. She has to know the difference between fool's gold and the gold that's been refined in the fire. Just as I said, First Peter chapter 1 and verse 7. And some of the fiery trials won't be persecution and suffering. I don't know about you, but when hard things are happening, we find it perhaps easier to go to the Lord because we know we have no other help or source of help than him. But I felt that the enemy had prepared a whole host of things that wouldn't be necessarily suffering and trials, but that they would be tests that the Lord would even permit to see if we would stay in that place of authority, because he's wanting to increase our authority, or whether we would be pulled away. And he said, tell the difference, tell the bride she's got to know the difference between the gold that's tested in the fire and the fool's gold, between the perfume of great price and the cheap imitation on the supermarket shelves, and between the pearls that come from his wisdom and the counterfeits of the world. And they're getting to be quite good, some of the counterfeits. And it wasn't so much the evil things, if you like. It was simply an onslaught of good causes. Look, there's this really good cause. You need to fight here because there is an injustice. You need to fight here in this good humanitarian cause. You need to get involved more in politics, whatever. And all of these things are important. And there is a time for all of those things. But had a sense that the greater authority, if we wanted to have that authority over these things, was coming from remaining in that secret place. And the Lord went on and he said, the bride needs great discernment to navigate her way in these dangerous days. Her enemy lays traps and snares to turn her away from me. He's prepared many good causes to draw her away. And she needs to know when she's got to close her door to be alone with me and leave the cries of the world outside. She's facing an onslaught of voices who are trying to pull on her compassion, facing crowds of people who try to steal her from that secret place of authority she has with me and with me alone. She needs to have greater wisdom from me, so that when I tell her to lift her sword, it will be for my glory and it will be extremely effective. She's being rearmed in this season, new wisdom, a new cutting edge, where the bride and the groom have looked long and deeply into one another's eyes. She's not to leave that place until she receives the direct order to do it. And I'm praying for all of us if you're going through fiery trials, if you're being persecuted, as many are, if you are suffering greatly at this time, I pray for you. I really do. But can we be aware that there are other traps that can take you away from that place of that authority that you have when you are shut in with Jesus, and that they can be good things, important things, but when it's not the time for the bride to engage in that, when it's the time that the bride has to look into the eyes of Jesus and to be rearmed to receive that cutting edge, let's realize that we're going to be far more effective in the waiting and in the looking in Jesus' eyes. And when you come out, that will achieve far more than anything that the world might be offering at this moment in time, which ultimately might pull you away from the very thing that you want most, looking into the eyes of Jesus. He's the source. He's the answer in all of these things. I hope this word blesses you. It was a surprise to me, but it certainly blessed me. Amen.